Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kiran Bendigeri from Grafosyss IAS. In this video, let's have a look at 7th Standard Social first chapter. Unit 1, Equality in Indian Democracy. This unit introduces the learner to the critical role of equality in democracy, with specific reference to India. So here we are going to discuss about equality in democracy in reference to India. The Constitution of India guarantees equality to all citizens. Despite this, the daily lives of people in India are far from equal. Earlier discussions on equality in civics textbooks most often reiterated certain provisions of the Constitution without adequately considering the reality of these in people's lives. This unit adopts a different approach. It discusses the need for equality through highlighting the inequalities that continue to be practiced and experienced by various communities. Our Constitution, our Indian Constitution, guarantees equality to all citizens. You might have read the preamble of our Constitution, in which it is clearly defined, right? But in reality, the people in India are far from equal, right? So there is need for equality through highlighting the inequalities that is being practiced and experienced by various communities. It may be because of anything. The first chapter introduces the learner to Kanta, Om Prakash Valmiki, and the Ansaris, all of whom experience inequality in different ways. So we are going to take examples of these people: Kanta, Om Prakash Valmiki, and the Ansari. Right. So based on them, we are going to discuss about the inequality which are faced by many people. It is through their experience that we introduce the concept of dignity, and we are going to discuss about concept of dignity, right? The government's role in passing laws and instituting policies is discussed to show that commitment to the alleviation of existing inequalities is a major part of the work that governments undertake. So we are also going to discuss about laws and policies which are a major part of the work that governments undertake to remove the existing inequalities, right? The chapter also briefly introduces an issue of inequality in the United States of America to highlight this is a global phenomenon and a feature of many democratic countries. So we are going to highlight the issue of inequality in other countries also, and also we are going to read about this global phenomena of many democratic countries. The second chapter of this unit is chapter 10 of this book. It ties together the main ideas on equality raised throughout the text. A significant portion of the last chapter is devoted to discussing people's contribution to the fight for equality. This is achieved through focusing on one social movement as well as highlighting creative ways through which people express their demands for equality. People's fight for equality and the way they are facing inequality and their creative ways through which they are demanding for equality. The creative ways are like writings or songs or poems. we are going to discuss about it. Both chapters aim to help the learner understand that equality and democracy are dynamic and not static concepts. So these both are dynamic and not static concepts, right? This dynamism is reflected in the government's passing of new laws and programs, and in people's movements around various social and economic issues. So there are social and economic issues are there, so we are going to read about it. Kanta Om Prakash, the Ansaris and the Tawa Matsya Sangh all have diverse local equivalents. Local situations should be used as a practical reference to make the discussion on underlying concepts more relevant and appropriate. So their local situations should be used as a reference so that we can understand the inequality. India is a democracy. In the class 6 book, we looked at the key elements of a democratic government. These include people's participation, the resolution of conflict, and equality and justice. Equality is a key feature of democracy and influences all aspects of its functioning. In this chapter, you will read more about equality, what it is, why it is important in a democracy, and whether or not everyone is equal in India. Let's begin by looking at Kanta's story. So, equality is an important part or a key feature of our democracy, right? And the key features are also the justice, people's participation, the resolution of conflict. So all are the key features. We are going to look at it by reading this Kanta's story. Equal right to vote. The story above begins with Kanta standing in line to cast her vote. Kanta is a lady. She is standing in line to cast her vote. Look again at the various people who are standing in line with her. Kanta recognizes her employer Ashok Jain and Chote Lal, her neighbor. In a democratic country like India, all adults, irrespective of what religion they belong to, how much education they have had, what caste they are, or whether they are rich or poor, are allowed to vote. This, as you have already read in class 6 book, is called Universal Adult Franchise. So you have read about Universal Adult Franchise, in which everyone in India are allowed to vote irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their economic condition, or irrespective of their gender. So this is called Universal Adult Franchise. In this story, it is the scene is like Kanta is standing in a line, and also her employer and her neighbor is also standing. The idea of universal adult franchise is based on the idea of equality, because it states that every adult in a country, irrespective of their wealth and the communities she or he belongs to, has one vote. Kanta is excited to vote and happy that she is equal to all of the others because each of them has one vote. So universal adult franchise, in which everyone, each and every person is having right to vote, and each and every person is equal, and everyone's vote is valued equally. But as her day goes on, Kanta becomes less certain about what this equality really means. What is it that makes Kanta unsure? But she is less certain about the equality in reality. So why she is so unsure about it. Let's look at it. Let's take a look at a day in her life. She lives in a slum and has a drain behind her house. Her daughter is sick, but she cannot take the day off from work because she needs to borrow money from her employers to take her child to the doctor. Her job as a domestic help tires her out, and finally she ends her day by again standing in a long line. This line in front of the government hospital is unlike the one in the morning because most of the people standing in it are poor. So she does the domestic work, and she live in the slum. Her daughter is sick, and she had to take her daughter to the hospital. There she is standing in a line. Kanta is one of many people who live in a democratic India and who have the right to vote, but whose daily living and working conditions are far from equal. So this is the thing. Daily living and working conditions, these are far from equal. Apart from being poor, people in India experience inequality in different ways. Let us see what this means by reading the two stories given below. Each of these is based on real incidents in people's life and reflects the different kinds of inequalities that exist in India. So she is poor in Kanta's story. So she is facing inequality. And we are going to read two other stories of inequalities. One of the more common forms of inequality in India is the caste system. If you live in rural India, your caste identity is something that you probably learned or experienced very young. If you live in urban India, some of you might think that people no longer believe in caste. But just look at these matrimonials shown from a leading English newspaper. You will see how important the issue of caste continues to be in the minds of highly educated urban Indians. So one more form of inequality is caste system. In India, many people follow this caste system in one or the another event. In villages, each and every person might have experienced the caste system. In urban areas, people might have thought there is no caste system in cities and all, but when they search for bride or groom, they will search them only in their caste. This is followed by even highly educated Indians. Now let us read a story about the experiences of a Dalit child attending school. You have already read about Dalits in the class 6 book. Dalit is a term that the so-called lower castes used to address themselves. Dalit means broken. Dalit, broken, right? We have read about it in 6th. And by using this word, lower castes are pointing to how they were and continue to be seriously discriminated against. Right. Om Prakash Valmiki is a famous Dalit writer. So this is the story of Om Prakash. In his autobiography, Jutan, he writes, I had to sit away from the others in the class, and that too on the floor. The mat ran out before reaching the spot I sat on. Sometimes I would have to sit way behind everybody right near the door. Sometimes they would beat me without any reason. When he was in class 4th, the headmaster asked Om Prakash to sweep the school and the playground. He writes, the playground was way larger than my small physique could handle, and in cleaning it, my back began to ache. My face was covered with dust. Dust had gone inside my mouth. The other children in my class were studying and I was sweeping. Headmaster was sitting in his room and watching me. I was not even allowed to get a drink of water. I swept the whole day. So please understand the points which are written by Om Prakash Valmiki. It is a There is a book named Jutan, in which he has explained about his experiences. It is his autobiography, right? He is a Dalit writer, and how he faced the inequalities, how he faced the discrimination even in the school, in the sense, even under the educated people, under the teachers or headmaster, right? So we can understand the gravity of the inequality the Dalit people are facing in the society. He was not allowed to attend the class. Sometimes he was told to clean the school, and he was actually ordered to sweep the playground and all. From the doors and windows of the schoolrooms, the eyes of the teachers and the boys saw this spectacle. Om Prakash was made to sweep the school and the playground for the next couple of days, and this only came to an end when his father, who happened to be passing by, saw his son sweeping. He confronted the teachers, and then walking away from the school, holding Om Prakash's hand, he said loudly for all of them to hear, "You are a teacher, so I am leaving now. But remember this much, master, he will study right here in this school, and not just him, but there will be more coming after him." So one day his Om Prakash's father saw, and he confronted the teachers, and then walking away from the school holding Om Prakash's hand. Right. So this is the event happened during his childhood. On equality. Why do you think the Ansaris are being treated unequally? Why would you do if you were in the Ansaris position and could not find a place to live because some people did not want to live next to you because of the religion you practice? So first was due to financial discrimination, economic discrimination, and second one is due to caste thing, and third one is due to religion. The second story is based on an incident that took place in one of the India's larger cities and is common practice in most parts of the country. It is a story about Mr. and Mrs. Ansari, who were looking to rent an apartment in the city. They had the money, and so paying the rent was no problem. They went to a property dealer for help to find a place. The dealer informed them that he knew about quite a few apartments that were available for rent. They visited the first apartment, and the Ansaris liked it very much and decided to take it. However, when the landlady found out their names, she made an excuse about how she could not rent the house to someone who ate meat because the building did not have any non-vegetarian residents. Both the Ansaris and the dealer were surprised to hear this because they could smell fish being cooked in the neighbor's house. The same excuse was repeated in the second and the third apartments. Finally, the property dealer told them that they might want to change their names and call themselves Mr. and Mrs. Kumar. The Ansaris were reluctant to do this and decided to look some more. In the end, it took a whole month of looking at apartments before they found a landlady who was willing to give them a place on rent. So Ansaris, they were a couple. They wanted to, they were looking to rent an apartment in the city. They went to some apartments. There, after the landlords getting to know their names, they were reluctant to rent the house to this Ansaris couple. It took 1 month to get a proper house, right? So this is due to religion. You have understood by now that the caste we were born into, the religion we practice, the class background we come from, whether we are male or female, these are often the things that determine why some people are treated unequally. Om Prakash Valmiki and the Ansaris are being treated unequally on the basis of differences of caste and religion. So we just saw the differences among people affect lives, and some people are treated unequally. They are considered as the lower class people and all. When persons were treated unequally, their dignity is violated. So inequality and dignity is related. The dignity of both Om Prakash Valmiki and the Ansaris was violated because of the way in which they were treated. By picking on him and making him sweep the school because of his caste, Om Prakash Valmiki's schoolmates and teachers hurt his dignity badly and made him feel as if he was less than equal to all other students in the school. Being a child, Om Prakash Valmiki could do very little about the situation that he was in. It was his father who, on seeing his son sweep, felt angry by his unequal treatment and confronted the teachers. The Ansari's dignity was also hurt when persons refused to lease their apartments to them. However, when the property dealer suggested that they change their name, it was their dignity or self-respect that made them refuse this suggestion. So we can see the individual's story, and we can say that they were hurt due to the inequality faced by them. Om Prakash and the Ansaris do not deserve to be treated like this. They deserve the same respect and dignity as anyone else, right? The Indian Constitution recognizes every person as equal. This means that every individual in the country, including male and female persons from all castes, religions, tribes, educational and economic backgrounds, are recognized as equal. This is not to say that inequality ceases to exist. It doesn't. But at least in democratic India, the principles of the equality of all persons is recognized. In reality, the people are discriminated based on caste, religion, tribe, educational and economic backgrounds, etc. But according to our Indian Constitution, each and every person has to be treated equally. In the 1975 film Diwar, a boy who works as a shoe shine refuses to pick up a coin thrown at him. He feels that there is dignity in the work that he does and insists that his fee be given respectfully. So you have seen the film Diwar. It is the film of Amitabh Bachchan, in which during his childhood days he used to work as a shoe polish worker, and when some rich person throws a coin at him, he refuses to pick it, and he insists that that fees should be given to him respectfully. The parliament is the cornerstone of our democracy, and we are represented in it through our elected representatives. So parliament, it is our cornerstone of our democracy, and we are represented by our representatives. We elect ministers and all. So they represent us. This recognition of equality includes some of the following provisions in the Constitution. First, that every person is equal before the law. What this means is that every person, from the president of the country to Kanta, a domestic worker, has to obey the same laws. So the first thing, every person is equal before the law, right? Even he is president or even he is a domestic worker, he has to be treated equally. Second, no person can be discriminated against on the basis of their religion, race, caste, place of birth, or whether they are female or male. No one should be discriminated, right? So this is the second point. Third, every person has access to all public places, including playgrounds, hotels, shops and markets. So third point is public places. Everyone should have access to it. All persons can use publicly available wells, roads and bathing ghats. Fourth, untouchability has been abolished. So this is the important thing, untouchability. It is still practiced in many villages. So this is the important point. Untouchability has been abolished long ago. So remember these 4 points, right? Equality, the following provisions in the Constitution. First, every person is equal. Second, no discrimination. Third, access to public places. Fourth, untouchability has been abolished. So next passage, the two ways in which the government has tried to implement the equality that is guaranteed in the Constitution is first through laws and second through government programs or schemes to help disadvantaged communities. So they tried by passing laws and government programs or schemes. There are several laws in India that protect every person's right to be treated equally. In addition to laws, the government has also set up several schemes to improve the lives of communities and individuals who have been treated unequally for several centuries. These schemes are to ensure greater opportunity for people who have not had this in the past. So these schemes ensure that the Dalits or tribal people who never got opportunity in the past. So in this passage you have to remember the equality, the implementation of equality by laws and government programs. One of the steps taken by the government includes the midday meal scheme. This refers to the program introduced in all government elementary schools to provide children with cooked lunch. Tamil Nadu was the first state in India to introduce this scheme, and in 2001, the Supreme Court asked all state governments to begin this program in their schools within 6 months. This program has had many positive effects. These include the fact that more poor children have begun enrolling and regularly attending school. Teachers reported that earlier children would often go home for lunch and then not return to school, but now with the midday meal being provided in school, their attendance has improved. So midday meal scheme was started in Tamil Nadu, and in 2001, Supreme Court asked all state governments to start this program in their schools within 6 months. Later, the attendance of the school improved. Their mothers, who earlier had to interrupt their work to feed their children, at home during the day now no longer need to do so. This program has also helped reduce caste prejudices because both lower and upper caste children in the school eat this meal together. And in quite a few places, Dalit women have been employed to cook the meal. The midday meal program also helps reduce the hunger of poor students who often come to school and cannot concentrate because their stomachs are empty. Midday meal scheme has also helped reduce caste prejudices between lower and upper caste children. And Dalit women have been employed to cook the meal. And now students can concentrate on studies, right? Next passage is, while government programs play an important role in increasing equality of opportunity, there is much that still needs to be done. While the midday meal program has helped increase the enrollment and attendance of poor children in school, there continues to be big differences in our country between schools that the rich attend and those that the poor attend. Even today, there are several schools in the country in which Dalit children like Om Prakash Valmiki are discriminated against and treated unequally. These children are forced into unequal situations in which their dignity is not respected. This is because people refuse to think of them as equal even though the law requires it. Even today there are several schools where the children are treated unequally and their dignity is not respected. Because people refuse to think of them as equal even though law requires it. It is disgraceful to live at the cost of one's self-respect. Self-respect is the most vital factor in life. Without it, man is a cipher. To live worthily with self-respect, one has to overcome difficulties. It is out of hard and ceaseless struggle alone that one derives strength, confidence and recognition. So it is disgraceful to live at the cost of one's self-respect, right? So this is the point. Man is mortal. Everyone has to die someday or the other, but one must resolve to lay down one's life in enriching the noble ideas of self-respect and in bettering one's human life. Nothing is more disgraceful for a brave man than to live life devoid of self-respect. It is from this quote is from B.R. Ambedkar. So he is saying that living without self-respect is a very disgraceful thing. One of the main reasons for this is the attitudes change very slowly. Even though persons are aware that discrimination is against the law, they continue to treat people unequally on the basis of their caste, religion, disability, economic status, and because they are women. It is only when people begin to believe that no one is inferior and that every person deserves to be treated with dignity that present attitudes can change. Establishing equality in a democratic society is a continuous struggle and one in which individuals as well as various communities in India contribute to, and you will read more about this in this book. So people are treated unequally due to many reasons. It may be caste, it may be religion or disability or economic status or due to their gender or due to the place from where they belong. Um, every person deserves to be treated with dignity. This change has to come from within himself. And equality in a democratic society is a continuous struggle. Issues of equality in other democracies. You are probably wondering whether India is the only democratic country in which there is inequality and where the struggle for equality continues to exist. The truth is that in many democratic countries around the world, the issue of equality continues to be the key issue around which communities struggle. It is not only the India, many democratic countries around the world are facing inequality, right? So for example, in the United States of America, the African Americans whose ancestors were the slaves who were brought over from Africa continue to describe their lives today as largely unequal. So African Americans, those are called blacks, they face inequality even today. This despite the fact that there was a movement in the late 1950s to push for equal rights for African Americans. Prior to this, African Americans were treated extremely unequally in the United States and denied equality through law. Before 1950s, they were denied equality through laws, but later it changed. For example, when traveling by bus, they either had to sit at the back of the bus or get up from their seat whenever a white person wished to sit. Right? So this is the kind of inequality they faced at that time. Rosa Parks, she is the African American woman. Tired from a long day at work, she refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man on 1st December 1955. So this happened in 1955, 1st December. She was tired from a long day at work. Her refusal that day started a huge agitation against the unequal ways in which African Americans were treated, and which came to be known as the Civil Rights Movement. Remember, this started in 1955, 1st December, due to that small event which happened in US. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, religion or national origin. So in 1964, new act was introduced, that is Civil Rights Act. So this prohibited discrimination on basis of race, religion or national origin, right? It also stated that all schools would be open to African American children and that they would no longer have to attend separate schools specially set up for them. However, despite this, a majority of African Americans continue to be among the poorest in the country. Most African American children can only afford to attend government schools that have fewer facilities and poorly qualified teachers as compared to white students who either go to private schools or live in areas where the government schools are as highly rated as private schools. Right, this is the scenario of the US. Rosa Parks, an African American woman, changed the course of American history with one defiant act. So her refusal to give seat to white man changed the course of American history. So there is an excerpt from Article 15 of the Indian Constitution. We are going to read about many articles in the coming videos. As of now, we are going to read a small part of Article 15. Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So this is prohibition of discrimination. Article 15. Remember, right? The state shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. Right? No citizen shall on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them be subject to any disability, liability, restriction, or condition with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels, and places of public entertainment, or the use of wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, and places of public resort maintained wholly or partly out of state funds or dedicated to the use of the general public. Right. So this is Article 15. Challenge of democracy. No country can be described as being completely democratic. There are always communities and individuals trying to expand the idea of democracy and push for a greater recognition of equality on existing as well as new issues. Central to this is the struggle for the recognition of all persons as equal and for their dignity to be maintained. In this book, you will read about how this issue of equality affects various aspects of our daily lives in democratic India. As you read these chapters, think about whether the equality of all persons and their being able to maintain their dignity is upheld. So again, same thing has been discussed. So there are challenges in democracy. Equality is one important thing. And we are going to discuss about this in this book, right? So we will look at the words which are used here. Universal adult franchise. This is a very important aspect of democratic societies. It means that all adult, those who are above 18 and citizens, have the right to vote irrespective of their social or economic backgrounds. Right? This is universal adult franchise. Remember this. Dignity. This refers to thinking of oneself and other persons as worthy of respect. Right? Constitution. This is a document that lays down the basic rules and regulations for people and the government in the country to follow. The rules and regulation for people and government. Right? Rules and regulation for people and government. This is Constitution. Civil rights movement, a movement that began in USA in 1950s, in which African American people demanded equal rights and an end to racial discrimination. So this is civil rights movement in America. So this is the end of the chapter. Thank you.